Welcome into Texans on Tap, episode 26. I'm Brandon Strange alongside Charlie Palillo and Josh Jordan. Follow them on X at Palillo and at Josh Jordan 975. To support this channel, all you have to do is hit like on the video and subscribe to the channel. That's it. We really do appreciate it. Or go find us on your favorite podcast app and listen to us. And if you are listening to us on podcasts, we do appreciate if you'd give us a 5-star rating while you're there. Guys, for the third consecutive season, the Texans look to steal a road win against the culture-thieving Titans in Tennessee, but they will have to do it shorthanded. Just how short remains to be seen. In the likely event CJ Stroud is still in concussion protocol on Sunday, what sort of chance do you give Davis Mills of leading Houston to a victory? And how do you think Bobby Slowick adjusts for Mills and for Stroud?
I mean, it feels right like, oh, even though the Titans are no good and just playing it out, Davis Mills, no chance. Well, the Bengals are winning short term with Jake Browning. Joe Flacco put 30 on the board for Cleveland. You know, in a one-game situation against the Titans team, which has been titanic in bad ways this year, you don't rule it out. All right, maybe the defense wholly awakens from the coma it played in the second half against the Jets. If you take care of the ball, Davis Mills, run the ball well. Oops, that doesn't seem likely. Maybe that's a game where the Texans can run the ball, because if it's on Davis Mills and you're without Nico Collins, you're going to come back 1 week after popping a calf, doubtful. Obviously, no Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, who knows? And a new kicker. I don't see how they can go with Matt Amendola. They cut him, brought him back. If Fairbairn is not ready, I think they almost have to go with anybody else. But Amendola, the lack of confidence is evident and deserved there. And just hope to grind one out at Tennessee. But with Davis Mills, it's still a winnable game because the Titans aren't good. And I know they just took the Colts to overtime. Well, Indianapolis isn't that good either, right? There's this morass of mid-level teams, and the Texans are right in the thick of it. Fortunately, they have a win over Denver. They have a win over Pittsburgh. They have a win over Cincinnati, a shot opportunity still with Cleveland. And the Browns' next game is the Ravens. So, it's not how, it's if. And whether it's Davis Mills or Stroud does come back, the Texans need to win minimum 2, 3 of these 4, with 2 against the Titans, and then somehow get 1 against the Browns or the Colts. And this is still a playoff team.
Yeah, if you look at it, Davis Mills and the Texans went into Tennessee and beat them last year. So it's not like it's impossible. They can get it done. It is interesting that it's the run game, right? Derrick Henry, he's just been a nightmare for the Texans. You could almost just mark him down for 200 rushing yards every time he played Houston. So, but this year it's a little bit of a different story. They're only middle of the pack in rushing yards per game. They're 16th, about 109 yards per game. Points scored, they're 25th, about 18 points a game. So it looks like the Texans won't have to do a whole lot on offense to come away with a win here. But, Davis Mills, look how bad CJ Stroud looked throwing to a team with no Nico and no Tank. Imagine how Davis Mills is going to look throwing to John Mechie and Noah Brown. It's, I'm not excited about it. I think this is just a game where keep it close, find a way to maybe win by a field goal.
Yeah, and part of how Davis Mills proved he was not going to be the guy, he can't throw on the move, right? He doesn't offer that play extension ability and then throwing ability of CJ Stroud. So if the Titans put any pressure on him and you don't have the run game going and you're undermanned at wide receiver, right, how does the Texans offense score more than 17 points, if 17 points, unless you get favorable field position because the defense is doing its job? You get a takeaway or two, right? The Texans only score against the Jets. They got the ball starting at their own 43-yard line. The first half of that game, and the Texans' offense was pathetic, but their drive start positions were the 25, the 20, the 26, the 2, the 5, and the 8. Unless you're an elite offense, it's tough when you're having to go somewhere between 75 and 98 yards every time you get the ball to score a touchdown to put a whole bunch of points on the board. I think a Davis Mills-led offense is going to need some breaks of a short field. Texans haven't had a defensive score in a while. Maybe they can come up with one of those.
Even in the loss, Devin Singletary averaged 5 yards per carry in New York. Will week 15 be the week that Bobby Slowick and the Houston offense finally figure out the run game? Because it would seem like without the threat of CJ Stroud, it becomes imperative that they do.
Josh, if they can't figure it out, I certainly can't. So have at it.
Yeah, I mean, if they couldn't run against the Broncos, which was the easiest matchup in the league, and they had CJ Stroud in this game, I don't know how they're going to do it with Davis Mills. And you got to give the ball to Singletary more. We talked about it earlier. Throw the ball to your running backs. That is one of the staples of the 49ers offense, throwing little checkdowns to Christian McCaffrey and throwing some screens. We're not seeing any of that with the Texans. There's got to be a reason for it, but it's a legit concern that sometimes that's just an extension of the running game. If you can't run the ball very well, then just drop the ball down to the guy in space and let him make a move. We're not really seeing any of that. And when we were this past week, it was Dameon Pierce. So I don't know what they're going to do there. As far as the rushing yards per game, I mean, they're 14th. The Titans, they give up about 106 yards per game. But as I mentioned earlier, if you couldn't get the running game going against the Broncos, if you couldn't get it going against Carolina, good luck doing against the Titans. You're going to probably need to attack them through the air, which could work out in your favor. They are dead last in interceptions. They only have 3 on the season. So it looks like maybe you can throw the ball around a little bit, but if it's Davis Mills and it's Noah Brown and Mechie, I don't know how they're going to get many points in this one. I can't imagine the total for this game is going to be very high.
And on the flip side, Josh mentioned Derrick Henry, who has just destroyed the Texans for years. Well, along with the overall decay of the Titans team, it looks this season like the wear and tear, the massive mileage that the Titans have put on the tread wear of Henry's tires over the years has started to take a toll. Unfortunately for Derrick Henry, at times with the expiration of his contract, I don't think he's going to get another mega deal. If he goes for 200 in this game, obviously the Texans have virtually no chance.
Not to mention that the Texans come in this year with a difference of Will Anderson Jr. as a run stopper for them. Do you expect to see a bounce back performance from this defense against Will Levis and the Titans offense?
When Zach Wilson puts you through the shredder, it gives me pause. But D'Amico won't have any problem getting them focused and locked in. This is a matchup you should be able to generate a couple of takeaways. So I'll go with a qualified yes. I still have enough of the, night visions of Derrick Henry from Christmases past. But if the Titans put 30 on them, I'll eat the hat I'm not wearing next week. Josh, I'll eat your hat.
Sounds like a deal. Yeah, I'm worried here because I think they can see a blueprint that worked really well against the Texans. Derrick Henry, you don't think of him as really like a pass-catching specialist, but he can catch a little bit. So maybe they dump the ball down to him a little bit. They also have Spears, who's a really good running back for them that's good out of the backfield. Texans have really struggled against tight ends. I'm sure they'll put that to use. You saw Conklin have some success against the Texans. So, I think Vrabel's going to take a look at what they did, and they're going to try and replicate some of this. And they might have some serious success. I mean, the O-line, Stroud's been starting to get sacked 4 or 5 times a game. If it's Davis Mills, I would expect even more. And as I'm currently looking here at my bookie, I don't see this game on the board. I guess we're waiting to see the health of CJ Stroud before they want to put a number on this. So maybe another website has that. But as I'm looking at my bookie, I don't see a spread or a line in this one yet.
Well, we'll throw out last week's predictions because we're throwing everything out from that game. Give me some score predictions. I know you just mentioned the lines. So what are your personal predictions for this week?
Well, we can be heartened that exactly nobody picked the Jets in a blowout. I don't mean among the 3 of us. I mean on planet Earth. No one had the Jets beating the Texans anything close to 30-6. Past this prologue would be the hope. Right? A Davis Mills-led team, as Josh alluded to, did win in Nashville last season. But if we're operating under a presumption of a Stroudless Texans team, and I'm going to guess they're going to be Collinsless in addition to Dell-less, I'm going to go Titans 17, Texans 14.
Ooh, I was kind of in that same ballpark. I'll go Titans 20-13.
Oh, well, that is rough. Well, hopefully that is not the case. Hopefully we'll be wrong for the second week in a row. That's going to be it for this episode of Texans on Tap. We'll be back next week to recap this game and hopefully talk about starting a new winning streak. Thanks for listening. As always, go Texans.